everyone, and welcome to your Rangers Bottle It Once Again weekly update for the week commencing the 15th of April 2024. It's Gary here again, and of course it's a NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday the 15th of April. What an absolute mess, I think is probably the best way to say it here. We're just completely stuttering towards the split. You might remember, if you listened last week, that I said just do whatever you need to do, Rangers, to get the points. We don't need to be entertained. We just need to come away from, as we thought, both games to the tune of 6 points, and then we'll move on and plan and strategise for the remaining 5 fixtures. And we couldn't even do that properly. Of course, we had the long-running saga of the Dundee debacle to contend with, and is that having an impact on the team? Is that having an impact on momentum? Is that having an impact on preparations? Maybe. Should it have that much of an impact when their job is just purely to prepare for and perform in football games, and they couldn't even do that? And what you'll probably know by now, and it gets a wee bit different when you've got cup games in there and you've got European games and such, but our last 4 league games have included 2 defeats to Motherwell and Ross County, a draw against Celtic and a win against Hibs. So 4 points from the past 12. That just quite simply, folks, is not championship winning form, I'm afraid, and I'm really at a bit of a loss as to know what to do about that, other than continue to wake up and continue to watch the games and continue to support as much as I can from 4,000 miles away and hope and pray that it turns around. So a little bit downbeat this week, but hopefully we'll get some edutainment your way through the podcast. So we'll move on to the game segment. Of course, just the one game this past week, and that was Sunday's 3-2 defeat at Ross County for Ross County's first ever victory over Rangers, just to kind of rub salt into the wound. And let's just break it down. The stats that I gave you there about the last 4, we've dropped 5 points in the last week, and we've also lost 6 goals in the last week as well, and that's 3 against Celtic and 3 against Ross County. It's just not good enough. I mean, when Clement came in, he kind of stopped the rot. It wasn't that we weren't giving up chances and such, but we just stopped losing goals. And this last wee while, we have started losing goals. Again, I guess it's probably the best way to kind of frame that, because we were quite prone to be losing goals prior to that. But it's kind of just unbelievable for me, quite honestly, what the team has done this year or this season. We obviously had a terrible start to the season, which forces the club to change managers, and I did commend the board. I have commended the board a number of times for making the change when they did, and giving it the appropriate amount of time and doing the appropriate search. And then Philippe Clement comes in and he just gives us an incredible boost. We go on to win our Europa League group, and we claw back a whole bunch of points in the league table to get to a spot where we start to do that mental mathematics, where we start to see the end in sight, and then we just seem to kind of diarrhea all over ourselves just when we're supposed to be, hitting the crescendo at the end of the season. We're getting some players coming back, and we've started to get a bit of an eye on the prize, and I know we all know that it's not quite as simple as that, but we dare to dream. We were put in a position where we dare to dream, and where we earned the right to enjoy it. And then what's happened after the last 4 games has happened, and we are no longer in the driving seat. It's no longer fully, well, I guess it still is in our hands technically, but I'm not really buying into that. It's a much more dire scene than it looked like a couple of a month and a half ago, something like that. And I just don't get it. I honestly don't get it. I said to the guys yesterday that essentially, even just in the last 2 games, we played 3 out of the 4 previous halves just way below, and not even close to what our standards would be. And I don't understand how that can be, how we can actually do that. And as I mentioned just there, I thought with us getting some players back there, we might have a bit more a bit more stability, a bit more options for sure, and maybe a wee bit more of a dynamic term in our shape and our flow to our games. But it's almost, honestly, it's almost kind of like there are too many options now. I really need you to do this. I know it's not your typical position, and there's almost what would you say, like a camaraderie there, where that's built up over this team, this club really needs me, I'm going to do this. But it seems like the more options we get, it seems to be creating confusion, quite frankly, doesn't it? And the team, and it just doesn't look like, for a lot of the time, especially yesterday and the first half against Celtic the week before, that a lot of the players don't seem to have any idea what they're doing. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing, and that was just a hallmark of Clement's early part of his reign. So how did we manage to get to this spot? And as I say, I mean, yesterday, if someone had said 5 or 6 months ago, with 6, or I guess that would be, I got the games mixed up last week, didn't I? With 6 games to go, 7 games to go, that if you win your last 6 or 7 games, you would be champions, we would have taken it then. Of course we would have, because then obviously that meant some sort of incredible turnaround or a collapse by our nearest rivals. But I just don't. I don't think we can, and I think I'm contradicting myself from last week when I said that we have proven that we can beat all the other teams. Or maybe I didn't say it last week. I've been certainly speaking to a bunch of people about that this week. But we've proven we can beat all the other teams. The only team we can't seem to beat is Celtic. But the way things were going, we could have won the league without beating them. And I don't know that that's so much the case now. We need to go to Sharkhead, and get the result there. So, yeah, I was convinced we could win our final 5, 6, 7 games until yesterday, and I just don't think that's true anymore. We play Dundee this week at long last, and I don't think there's anything to suggest that we're going to see anything much better than what we've seen over the last few league games in particular. And with Dundee already being confirmed as being in the top 6 this season, it's going to be a difficult game. Technically, by the points, they are, a mountain ahead of Ross County, and Ross County were absolutely well worthy of their win yesterday. I mean, there's no real complaining where it was this guy's fault, it was that error, it was a goalie, series of masterclass saves or such. It was nothing of the kind. So I don't know. If you look at the stats can work for you or against you, but if you look at the stats, even just in the bookings for the last 2 games, a draw and a defeat, and we had 1 booking, and it was Abdallah Sima, and that was it. So I think in the Celtic game, we just couldn't get anywhere close to them to even try and think about tackling them, to give them an opportunity to break up the play, let them know they're there, give themselves an opportunity to kind of succeed. And we just haven't been doing that. So I think that's information in and of itself, that we're not getting any bookings. I don't mean to say that we're not trying or anything like that, but there's something going on there, that especially when the games aren't going the way that we're supposed to have them going, I'm not suggesting we go kick an opponent, but you get a bit more stuck in, don't you? There's opportunities that will present themselves, and you take one for the team, or you send a message, or you at least fight your own corner, and we just don't seem to be doing that. And I don't understand it. I really don't. So anyway, so I don't know that we're going to get anything meaningful over the next week, I guess is probably what I'm saying. Positives from the game yesterday, I don't know. Two goals away from home, maybe. Is that a positive? Other than that, not many at all. Negatives, I think I've kind of spelled out most of them already, haven't I? Our passiveness, our general lack of understanding the basics of what it is we wanted to do in the moment. It's just utter absolute nonsense. And I had said last week that the first half against Celtic was one of the worst. To mirror the end of Gio's reign and Beale's era and such. And even though we were 1-0 up, I thought the first half was just as bad. Then Philippe Clement came out and said pretty much the same thing in the press conference afterwards, and that's a real worry. So for the second week in a row, I'm saying that each of the 3 goals that we lost were absolute garbage in and of their own way. The basics of defending, how easy the goals went in, and the mistakes that led up to, and including the actual goals in and of themselves, just I don't know. As I said, it looks like they don't have any idea what they're doing. The whole thing was just very, very, very negative, I think is probably the best way. The stats say that we had 67% possession and we had 18 shots on goal with 7 on target. Their goalie, to be fair, had a couple of really good saves, and that's what he's there to do, though. So we can't kind of overly rely on that. And Ross County, the second bottom team in the league, had 10 shots on target against the potential champions with 10 shots on goal with 6 on target. That's you can't give up that amount of chances, and the type and style of chances we give up as well. We're just gutter. Absolute trash. On the referee watch, I thought Matthew McDermott did okay. I think he did what he had to do. I don't recall him getting overly involved in the game from a negative perspective. So he'll get the standard 7 out of 10, and we'll move on from there. So 2 games this week, and for this one last time, I mean that there are going to be 2 games in the league this week. And the first one is going to be away at Dundee. Now, the thing is, we don't know right now whether the game's going to be actually in Dundee or it's going to be in Perth at St Johnstone. I still don't understand why they wouldn't go across to Tannadice, like literally across the street, to go over there to provide some level of home advantage to them and have the logistics in terms of travel and such and policing and stewarding to be somewhat the same. But I guess there's a valid reason for it. I just don't know what that is. Maybe you have to use a stadium from your own league or something, and that is going to be at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 o'clock UK on Wednesday. So we're definitely getting the game. There's a pitch inspection on Tuesday. We'll find out more then, and then we'll get things organised from there. It will be very good to get that game out of the way, and who knows how much bearing this will have. I guess we'll never literally know, but when we were supposed to play this game before, it felt like we were in a better spot in terms of our form, in terms of our ability to close games out, and with the 3 points, I mean. And now we're not. So now we're in a situation where you're like, I don't know what's going to happen, and I guess we'll just see when we get there. But we've talked enough about Dundee and playing Dundee. We just need to get the game to go ahead, and then finally put this episode behind us, and hopefully we get the 3 points from there. And our second game is in the Scottish Cup semi-final on Sunday, April the 21st, and that's a 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoff, 3 p.m. UK. And the cup games, you just don't know what you're going to get from the cup games. I know that's a little bit cliche, but Hearts have had a full week to prepare, and we won't have had a full week to prepare. All 3 of the other teams will have had a full week to prepare for this, and Rangers won't. So just another testimony to the garbage that gets served up here because of Dundee's inability to be able to host the game. And I was so glad to see Rangers going after them in the press and just talking about their lack of professionalism and their lack of essential respect and courtesy of the game. That's the way I took it. So yeah, it's good to see the club kind of stand up for that, but it still hasn't really changed anything, has it? The weather's still going to be the weather, the pitch is still going to be the pitch, and we're going to have to play all the games at some point. But as I mentioned, we were in better form before, so who knows how material that will become the end of the season. But I would imagine Hearts will come into this game feeling fairly confident, certainly rested and fairly confident. It depends what happens to us. Do we go in a bigger downer after an awful result on Wednesday? I think we just turn our attentions then to saying, right, okay, we're going to try and win 2 cups this year and build in for a genuine challenge in the league next year if the result doesn't go our way on Wednesday. If it goes our way on Wednesday, then of course we're going to be still fighting on 2 fronts, so we'll just need to see. In terms of RTV, I don't think there was anything on the weekend there that I could see or hear from the list, but if there was and you haven't gotten in touch, please do get in touch with Alan McWatt, and he'll take up the issue with RTV prior to the pending games here. On to the shout outs for this week. I still will keep the Emmy Smiley Charity Foundation raffle link up there. I should really do my research on that to find out when it's going to end, so that I'm not wasting your time with a link that might have already expired. But we're looking to try and obviously support that charity as much as possible and get that signed James Tavernier shirt there. That's also helping through the Jimmy Bell's family and such as well. And just a little bit of so this is a belated birthday wish now for NARSA Vice President Brian Campbell. And here's the big thing. What we did last week was we went down to California to surprise Brian for his birthday. There was a bunch of us that we came from Calgary. There was a bunch went from Chicago and Arizona, and it was great. It was great to see Brian's family, to see Big Brian, to see Marie, to see Graham and all their families, and the entire Campbell clan, which is a sizable bunch of people. And it was also great to see Stuart Gordon and John from the Orange County Rangers Supporters Club. Great guys, good chance to have a chat and a good laugh with them at Brian's party. So we surprised them on the Friday, got there on a Thursday, surprised them on the Friday, and then on the Saturday he was having a big bash at his place. And I have to say, folks, I went down to California from Calgary. Calgary was nicer in terms of the weather, temperatures and the conditions than it was in California. So the bold one here takes down shorts and shorts only, because that's what you do when you go to California. And I was freezing pretty much the entire weekend. It was absolutely bucketing of rain most of the afternoon on and into the evening on Saturday and such. So it was great. It was a fantastic weekend. We got back late last night, so if my voice feels a wee bit hoarse and rough, you've got a rough idea why. And we also had the pleasure of the captain, no less, Mr. Richard Goff, made it along to Brian's place on Saturday night. They live fairly close to each other. Brian extended an invite, and it was fantastic to see the captain and to meet his wife as well. So yeah, fantastic time. And just one wee thing, we did have a little bit of a blip on the folks from Chicago. With Martin Bell and his family come over, and they were coming over with Scott Robertson and his Mrs. Diane. And unfortunately, the day of the travel, Scott's stepdad, my apologies, suddenly passed away. So that was devastating news, actually, and selfishly, because we were looking so forward to getting together and having a bit of a tear at it at the weekend. But of course, bigger things are happening in the world, and Scott had to fly back home to support his mum. So really sorry to hear that, Scott, and I hope that all the funeral planning and such goes ahead. But the weekend was fabulous. I spoke to Brian briefly about it on Friday, and he had a wee bit of an inclination that I might show up on Saturday, but not on Friday. So, and I don't think it was anything I said. It was just one of these, you never know kind of things. And so we got to that. It was actually, we were talking in and around the David Holmes book, and I was going to ask him to get me one when he was there, but then that would be an odd thing to do. Then he'd just have to post it from the States instead of posting it from the UK and just purchasing it and stuff. And he says, I'll just go grab it from the office, and just in case he shows up anyway. So maybe there wasn't an absolute inclination, but there was maybe something there to say, you never know. But we had a great time, an absolutely brilliant time. So happy belated 50th again to Brian, and I hope your recovery is rapid this week, my friend. And on the topic of birthdays, I had a shout out from Dennis Reimer at who's in actually the Calgary club here, and he is celebrating his 45th birthday this Wednesday, April the 17th. And he messaged me saying, is it lame if you give yourself a shout out? And I says, absolutely not. It's up to you. The shout outs are yours to do what you want with them. So a very happy birthday when it comes, Dennis. Dennis joined us at the Old Firm game there last 2 weekends ago now it was, and he had a bit of a night the night before. So then he left. I think he left his jacket and his coffee cup and his hoodie. I don't know what he left. He left a bunch of stuff at the pub, and I didn't even see it when I was leaving. Normally I do a quick once over to make sure everything's okay, but then he had to do the, what do you call it, the call of shame, when you have to phone the pub and say, this morning at 5 a.m. when I was down to watch a game, I might have left basically everything I needed to survive in Calgary here. Can I come and get it when you're open? And I'm assuming he's got it by now. So happy birthday when it comes, Dennis. Many, many happy returns, and hopefully I'll see you on Sunday at the game. Many, many congratulations to Alex McLeish for obtaining the OBE last week there. That was amazing. Do you know, quite honestly, when I heard he was getting the Order of the British Empire, I was kind of surprised that he hadn't got it before. For some reason, I know that he's been very heavily into charity work for such a long time and been such a fantastic servant to the game of football, both here and in England and such as well. So, and of course with Scotland. So he's had a fabulous career, great guy. Hopefully at some point we'll get him over to the conventions. I've always been a big fan, and we just never quite managed to get him over during my tenure with the NARSA executives. So congratulations, many congratulations, well done and well deserved on your OBE. And a good shout out as well. These are getting positive. I'm actually starting to feel better. I hope you are too. The women's team team did a fantastic thing yesterday, and maybe the men's team could take a wee bit of note of this. They won a game, that's kind of cool, but they also beat one of their main rivals for the title in the same game, and that was, of course, Glasgow City. So I think it was one each at half time. Rangers went up, Glasgow City equalised, and then Rangers ran out winners at the end, and that's them now a point ahead of Celtic, and now 7 points ahead of Glasgow City with, I think it's 7 games to go. So you never say never. Of course, 21 points to play for, but it kind of looks like that might have ended Glasgow City's chance at this. So it's now a 2-horse race for first place there, but we'll see, because they do that kind of top 6 thing that we do, or certainly a split where all the better teams are playing the better teams. So, but fantastic result, and one of these ones that they've usually got 0-0 or 1-1 written all over it, but they just decided nope, not today, and went out and did the job. Then finally, on the Toronto Midtown Rangers Supporters Club, they have their cultural night with the pride of the Birchies Accordion Band from Portadown, Northern Ireland, and that's of course on Friday the 19th of July at 7 p.m. Please email them at tmrsc1998@outlook.com to reserve your spot. There's no cover charge, but if you want to reserve your table, make sure you're going to actually get a seat. Please don't delay on that, because we're kind of mid-April right now. It's creeping in, let's just say. In terms of the convention update for this week for NARSA 2025, I can confirm it's 423 days and 60 weeks to go until we descend upon Kissimmee in Osceola County, Florida, and that's of course from June the 12th to the 16th. You'll know last week that we did confirm David Edgar as our MC again, and I think I said last week I was going to be on his daily update, and then there was a wee bit of a scheduling change, so we ended up just essentially recording a full show that went out free to air. So if you haven't had a chance to check that out, I would encourage you to do that. I'll put the link on the blurb for today's pod, so you can go listen to that. 20-25 minutes, but basically just talking about what we're doing, what we're up to, what we've got going on, and of course formally welcoming and thanking David for agreeing to be our MC again. We are also talking about some entertainment options, specifically in and around the Friday. And I haven't actually checked my email for a wee bit today. I was getting all organised, unpacking and moving back home and such from my holiday and such, that I know there was an email come in earlier. We're in the process of essentially getting transitioned from the sales team to the operations teams, where we would deal with the events manager and typically the banqueting manager. It's usually 2 different people in my experience. So we are just about there with that. Once we have that organised, then we'll hopefully get the link out there, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed with what you get in terms of the hotel we're going to go to, the amenities that are going to be there, and such. So really looking forward to getting that out. Then it's going to really feel like a proper convention. I don't know about you, but I'm really looking forward to getting back to that spot. And of course we're still talking VIP guests and such, and we'll get those confirmed over time as we go forward. So next wee while, hotel rooms out for sale, convention tickets out for sale. We'll certainly get that done by the end of the season, so that we can kind of ease into the close season, just kind of getting a rough idea of how things are lying at that particular point. And then we'll start to do the convention, get a guest list and such, and then we'll get these folks on for a quick interview and such, and we'll take it from there. I did say last week also that we were going to have an executive meeting, and I got my days mixed up. I think I said Tuesday, but it was actually supposed to be Wednesday. But by Wednesday, I didn't have the information from the hotel that I wanted to get, so we've pushed it out to this Wednesday coming. So we'll have a wee bit more information to share about that. Thank you very much to the exec for being flexible in that one. On the communications front for this week, the Gers Guide. Today is a review of the women's victory over Glasgow City, and there's also a loan review, which I think we should just call the Sam Lammers did what again? Because he is absolutely lighting it up over at Utrecht there, and I just wonder, I don't know, do we get the guy back now that his confidence is high? Because this is the first time he's been really performing at a high level consistently for a number of years. I'm led to believe. I didn't follow his career prior to coming to Rangers, but that's what I've certainly heard and read, and he's still our player. So do you get him back and say, right, how did we manage to get a tune out of him? I don't know. No, I'm not saying before the end of the season, but yeah, you never know. But I think everyone kind of agreed that maybe the best thing would be to say, thanks but no thanks, good luck in your future career, all the very best. So he's not doing his chances of a permanent transfer either to Utrecht or somewhere else any harm whatsoever by scoring. Scored again on the weekend there. On Tuesday, we've got the press conference for Dundee once again, and we will know tomorrow, of course, whether it's going ahead in Dundee or Perth, as I mentioned before. So the press conference will hopefully be a bit more direct and actually be talking about a game. And then we, of course, have the game on Wednesday, and Rangers women are playing Hearts women on Wednesday as well, with a 7:45 p.m. UK kickoff. So their games are coming kind of thick and fast. Nothing much going on Thursday. Friday will be the press conference for the Hearts game on Sunday. Not so much on Saturday, a lot going on. And then Sunday we have the Scottish Cup semi-final against Hearts, and then Partick Thistle women are playing Rangers women and that's, I think that's at Petershill Park, and it's a 1 p.m. UK kick-off time, so away from home again. So yeah, a couple of difficult games for the women's team, but hopefully they can keep the momentum going. I did talk last week briefly about the fan engagement and the update on the fan advisory board, and then the pending CEO Fans Forum, which is going ahead tomorrow. I did reach out to Greg Marshall to basically just ask if would we be able to pose a question on behalf of NARSA if we had any questions, and I did mention it last week. If you have any questions, please do let me know. Not one person let me know, and I was on holiday for 4 days there, so I'm not super organised with that. But as the day goes on here, what I'll try and do is put together a question or two that might be read out, on behalf of NARSA. And I think it would essentially be over, what are we doing from a global scale? What are we doing from a MyGers perspective, to give us an opportunity to continue to contribute to the club and continue to be as engaged as we would like to be, and that sort of thing. So we'll get organised on that. On the NARSA newsletter, we do have some stuff coming in now from different clubs. We've got a really good one going in this week from the Scots American club over in New Jersey, and they were in a bit of there was a Scottish Day and Scottish March thing, and they also had folks come over from Philadelphia and such, so that looks fantastic. We'll get that in there. And I also have our good friend Bobby Jameson, who is going to be helping us with the Euro 2024 pool once we can get that one going, and we're now going to do a quiz question each week. Don't Google it when we ask you the question. Just if you don't know the answer, have a guess, ask someone else, but don't cheat right off the bat. Give it a go. So we're going to give it a go and see if the quiz gets a wee bit more engagement, and we can either do the answers through the WhatsApp chat, or you can email me your answer, and we can add that to the shout outs, see who gets the answer correctly first or something like that, or maybe even a signed photograph of me for each of the winners or something. No, then that'll put everyone off, won't it, from actually doing it. Okay, and again, if you have any suggestions for the newsletter, please by all means do let Lorraine know, and she would be more than happy to accommodate and incorporate for that. And finally, for this week, I did mention the David Holmes book. I now am literally physically in possession of the David Holmes book, so I'm going to pick that up because I just finished an autobiography last week, so I do have some light reading time in my schedule again. So I'm going to start to read that, and then I'll get a hold of Mr. Holmes, and hopefully we'll get him on for an interview here, maybe before the end of the month, possibly a wee bit at the beginning of next month would be a little bit more realistic, I think. I just don't want to be turning up saying, so tell me about the book, and I haven't even done any research whatsoever. That's not cool. So we're a step closer with me having the book in my possession. Okay, folks, I wasn't sure how much time we were actually going to have together this week because it was kinda rushed in terms of going through the garbage that was served up to us yesterday. It's not looking very good right now. Maybe it's better to get the bad stuff out of the way and then have a positive end. I don't know. You just don't know what's coming up, but we're certainly absolutely not trending in the right direction right now, and something pretty dramatic has to happen in order to arrest this fall and give us an opportunity to see some glimmer of hope for ongoing success in the league. And that's what I'll be hoping and praying for, and keeping all my fingers and digits crossed for at the same time. So that will do it for this week. As always, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you very, very much for listening, and please do share it with someone that you think might enjoy it. And who knows what we get, more of the same, less of the same. Just 3 points in a cup final to look forward to would be kind of nice. That's not too much to ask, is it? Okay, my friends, take care of yourself, and I will chat to you again next week. All the best now. Bye-bye.